Hello all, my name is Fahim. So in this video I'll be talking a bit about JavaScript, and I want to talk not about the syntax or anything but about what JavaScript is and how it kind of like how it works under the hood a little bit, not too deep because I don't know much deep, but this is actually from a book that I am reading called You Don't Know JavaScript Yet. It's like it's on GitHub, and it's like an open source thing. Open source as in it's like free for anyone to go in there and read the stuff. So basically it's a really huge book about JavaScript, and it talks about a lot of things, and it's like pretty interesting to me. So I read like the first chapter about it like a few months ago actually, and then I came back to it this week to just revisit whatever I learned back then, and then like explore a bit. So then I went like into a rabbit hole of learning about a lot of different stuff, like what parsing is, like compilers and parsing, and I also ended up looking at what module bundlers are and things like that. Yeah, so basically I'll just start with the nomenclature of JavaScript. JavaScript has nothing to do with Java, right? Most of you might know this, but I'll just say it for the sake of completion. So JavaScript came to be during the time when Java was a very popular language in between programmers. So JavaScript was named so like it's just a marketing strategy to get more people to use the language. Like it says JavaScript because script means something that is very lightweight, right? And it's saying that JavaScript is like a better and lightweight language that can be run on the website. I mean on the browsers, right? So that's how the name JavaScript came to be. And there's this quote by some person, I don't remember his name, but it says that Java is to JavaScript what ham is to hamster. So it has nothing to do with both of these languages. So next I want to talk a bit about ECMAScript. So ECMAScript is the specification for JavaScript, right? It defines the syntax and behavior of JavaScript, and it's like JavaScript is like a superset of ECMAScript, and it has additional features that are not available in ECMAScript. And there's this group of people called the TC39, which is like 80 to 100 people, and they're a big group that decides where JavaScript is going to go in the future. So they have these meetings every year, and they decide on changes that come into JavaScript, right? So any new feature that is added to JavaScript goes through this committee of people, and it's like a huge process for adding something into JavaScript. It's like there's a lot of stages. Like the initial stage is like you're suggesting something, and then they have to go through a long stage of making sure this is not going to break anything. And this leads into my next point, which is JavaScript is backwards compatible. Alright, so this is one of the main reasons why new changes to JavaScript is not something that comes up very often, because JavaScript holds this backwards compatibility very importantly. Okay, so what is backwards compatibility? So backward compatibility means that any feature that is added to JavaScript will never become invalid in the future. So a new feature that is added to JavaScript, let's say something comes up tomorrow, a new feature is added. Now the programmers or the developers using that new feature do not have to worry about this feature being broken in the future or something like that. So this is one of the main principles of JavaScript, and the TC39 hold this very importantly. And they may do this because JavaScript is there everywhere in the web, right? And this backwards compatibility is really important because it ensures that none of the JavaScript that is written before is never broken in the future. So that is backwards compatibility. Now there is something called forwards compatibility, and JavaScript is not forwards compatible. So you should not confuse with the both. There is backwards compatibility and then there's forwards compatibility. JavaScript is not forward compatible. So forward compatible means that programs that are written like today can be run on like any browser, even older browsers. Like that is not true, because this is true in the case of some languages like HTML and CSS. Okay, so in CSS, if something new comes up, like you can run it on older computers also, like it won't break, but at the same time this new feature won't be run, it will be like ignored, right? So anything that the old compiler does not know, it will just ignore, and it will use whatever it knows how to use. So JavaScript is not like this, because if you think about it, if it was like this, then everything would break. Because what this means is that if it was forwards compatible, it would just ignore things that it does not understand. So imagine JavaScript just ignores your code, then everything is going to break, right? So it is pretty intuitive that JavaScript is not going to be forwards compatible, unlike languages like CSS and HTML. Now, this forwards compatibility issue can be solved using a few stuff, and one of the things is Babel. Alright, so Babel is a transpiler. Sorry, Babel is a transpiler that lets us like change our code from one form to the other, and this can be from like one programming language to another programming language, or it can be changing the version of the same language. So right now we have JavaScript, we have ES, let's say ES something, right? ES9 or something, and we want to run it on an older computer, but that won't work, it will throw an error, right? So what do we do? What if we want to do that? And this is solved by Babel, because Babel can be used to change our, essentially the version of our JavaScript code, right? We can change it to ES5 version, which is like widely supported in almost all browsers. So Babel is used to fight this forwards compatibility issue of JavaScript. Alright, and then there's also one more thing that we need to use to solve this problem of forwards compatibility, which is polyfills. So polyfills are like functions that we write that, okay, let me start over. Polyfills are like when you have some new feature, like let's say the promise feature, and we have a system that does not have the promise feature added to it yet, right? So we would write something called a polyfill, which is like we will define what a promise is supposed to be like, and we'll define that as a polyfill, so that this definition that we wrote can be used in place of this missing promise feature. So that's basically what polyfill is. So using both of this Babel and polyfill, we are able to solve this problem of forwards compatibility. So that's basically it. I hope you learned something. So today I just talked a bit about the nomenclature of JavaScript, and I talked about what ECMAScript is, and then I also talked about backwards and forwards compatibility. That's all from me. Thank you.